creates an electrical, sorry, I get it right now, a chemoelectrical, so it's got chemicals and electrical impulse in our body. And so the thought travels down the nervous system. Every now and then, the dendrite finishes and there's a gap. And it has to plug itself in. Trouble is, we're not quite as handy as this little thing is, because this can actually plug directly in. We have a gap. We have a permanent gap between all of our electrical conduits, our nervous system. We have a permanent little gap. Now that little gap, the message has to cross that gap. To cross that gap, we have to create chemicals, a chemical cocktail. Now as we do that, the chemical cocktail runs across between the gap, sending the message we've sent, move your hand down here, and it keeps going over and over and over again. That keeps happening. The same is true for the thoughts we have all the time. You know those thoughts that are either completely unconscious or just subconscious. We're kind of aware of some of them. And every now and then you actually hear yourself saying, yeah, well, I knew that wouldn't work. Yep, not good enough. Nobody loves me. I'm useless. There's a good one. Or other people, and sometimes even funnier, they're in the voices of people who've said them to you often enough. Now these people, I don't blame them, because in some way they were trying to keep you safe by telling you that limiting you. Because if you're not limited, you're unsafe. And this is a continuous thought pattern that permeates society. But when we start talking to ourselves like this in patterns all the time, and as I said, approximately, I'll give you the actual amounts, approximately 1% of your thoughts, 1.8 at the most of your thoughts are conscious. 98.2 to 99% of your thoughts are unconscious or subconscious. So you could be telling yourself all sorts of things without yourself knowing. Each one of these, particularly if it's a pattern, it's a cracked record, creates that chemical cocktail. Now if you're thinking a lot of negative thoughts without knowing it, you're creating a chemical cocktail that goes through your body, creates a chemical cascade through every cell in your body, and causes toxic acidity. Now toxic acidity creates inflammation, and all inflammation is the source of all disease. All disease. It starts with inflammation, and it can start not just with toxins in the air, toxins in your food, eating the wrong thing, drinking the wrong water, all those things that everyone else talks about. It can also be in your thought patterns, what you believe about yourself and about life. And this is one of the things that I figured out. So, with a lot of help, I started to do things differently. I had no choice. It was die or do it differently. And I had already made the decision to live, so I started doing it differently. And yes, it's true. When you do this, it's a really scary thing to do, because a lot of the time you've been living up to the expectations of others, trying to make them happy. They're going to be unhappy with you, and you have to learn how to be okay with that. So I'm not telling you it's easy. In fact, the nutrition and the detoxing of your body, your physical self, is the easy part. But when you take every small step that you do, and you make every small and big choice that you do, it gets easier to follow what you want to do. It gets easier to navigate with your feelings of fun, with your feelings of joy, with your saying to yourself, yes, I do want to do that. Don't care what anyone else says, I want to do that. Or, even just as importantly, no, I don't want to do that. I would rather do this. There's an art to saying no. We probably haven't got enough time to teach you that, but there is an art to saying no. There's an art to setting boundaries, and it doesn't matter who with. Saving your life becomes a very, very important thing when you realise that in saving your life, you may be saving others. For me, at the very beginning, it was my children.